Hey everybody, Virginia McClain here to read another chapter of Victoria Marmot and the Meddling Goddess. Here to read chapter 13 and trying something out. I'm going to try to do it off the cuff because I don't have a lot of time today, but I wanted to get some chapters up, so I haven't done a practice run of this, and so we'll just see how it goes. When last we left our hero, she had just sort of sunk to the floor after discovering that Seamus was capable of turning into a wolf. So, here we go, chapter 13. Okay, fine. Werewolves existed. By the time Seamus had left last night, there really hadn't been any arguing that. I did briefly try to convince myself that it was a truly elaborate prank, but in the end, I couldn't figure out how it worked if it was, and oddly enough, Occam's razor suggested that Seamus actually turning into a werewolf really was the more likely explanation. In the end, the fact that I could run my fingers through the wolf's fur and then be sitting next to a naked Seamus half a second later, and it was a sign of how stunned I was by the whole revelation that sitting next to a naked Seamus didn't faze me at all, well, what other explanation was there? Of course, the best scientific explanation I could come up with was that Seamus was somehow pulling a wolf through an interdimensional pocket and trading consciousnesses with it, but that sounded almost as far-fetched as the idea that the whole thing was magic, so I kept it to myself. Meanwhile, after eventually coming to terms, at least marginally, with the idea that Seamus was actually able to turn into a wolf at will, I kicked him out so that I could finally get some sleep. Then I'd remembered that the thought of sleeping in my own bed made my stomach turn, and I'd set up camp on the couch. It wasn't rational that I felt in any way safer here, but my brain wasn't looking for reason. It was just looking to not go upstairs and be reminded that some psychotic asshat had shown up in my room in the middle of the night. Despite how exhausted I'd been, sleep was a struggle. My brain kept turning over the things that Seamus had said. He was a werewolf, and He wasn't sure, but he knew I was something, probably aware, just not a wolf. All of which was preposterous. Werewolves were one thing, maybe. Me turning furry at will? Well, that was insane. I'd know if I had an animal form I could call on whenever I wanted. The idea that I'd somehow missed my ability to turn into something with 4 legs whenever I felt like it was just stupid. And whenever I'd managed to stop thinking about the ridiculousness of a world where a guy from my English class could turn into a wolf, I'd gone right back to thinking about some douche tart showing up in my bedroom while I slept. Sometime after the sun started to rise, I drifted off to sleep, and was woken by my alarm almost immediately afterward. Fuck everything, I muttered, rubbing my eyes and hating life. I debated just skipping school. After all, I would be useless after the negligible amount of sleep I'd gotten. But even as I thought about slinking upstairs and curling up in my bed, my stomach twisted. Memories of headbutting Edic came flooding back, and I realized that I wasn't likely to get any more sleep, even if I stayed home. I repeat, fuck everything. I took a quick shower, scarfed a bowl of cereal, and trudged off to school as quickly as my sluggish legs would allow. I'm actually a vampire. What? I was trying to whisper, but I was so flustered that freaking Stocky McStockerson was my lab partner, despite the fact that he had been taken away in handcuffs the night before, that I was raising my voice more than I had intended. He was supposed to have spent the night in prison and not been allowed to attend school today. The cops had told me we were supposed to have a court date on Thursday to establish a restraining order. I wasn't supposed to have to see him until then. But my lawyers, yes, I have lawyers, my parents left me a whole estate, there was a lot of paperwork involved, had called me this morning while I was walking to school to inform me that despite everything I had told them and what the police had confirmed with them the night before, Edic had been released immediately. In addition, none of the law enforcement officials who had dealt with him seemed to recall any sort of violation of my rights. My lawyers were baffled and looking into it. In the meantime, Sir Creeps-a-Lot was sitting right next to me in class with a face that didn't look at all like I had headbutted him the night before. I felt like I was losing my mind. Which may explain why I wasn't all that surprised by the words coming out of his mouth. I'm a vampire. I simply stared at him. He was clearly not in the best place mentally. After all, who thinks it's okay to break into someone's house and watch them while they sleep? I tried not to think about how fucked up the night before was and took a deep breath. And why exactly do you think you're a vampire? I asked. I glanced at the front of the room to see if Miss Rebuke was getting ready to send us both to the principal, but she seemed distracted by some disgusting blob that one of the students had created over one of the Bunsen burners. I wasn't clear why they were using the Bunsen burners in physics class, but I had bigger problems to worry about at the moment. I don't think I'm one. It's just what I am. It's why I'm different. It's why no one understands me. My eyebrows lifted towards my hairline, and I had a hard time keeping my face from reading as, "You're batshit nuts," when I turned to look at Eric. Have you considered that no one understands you because it's socially and morally unacceptable to show up in people's bedrooms and watch them sleep without an invitation? No, that's not it. I'm a vampire. I drink human blood. Humans can tell I'm a predator and I make them uncomfortable. But you're different. No, I'm not. You're definitely making me uncomfortable. It's not that. It's your smell. You smell different and I can't tell what you're thinking. I have a good poker face and I don't wear gaudy perfume. That doesn't mean anything mystical. It means you should give me my space. No, you're special. I can tell. Here, look. Some form of sheer morbid curiosity had me turn to look at Edic. What I saw was not reassuring. The way that Edic's teeth caught the sun was definitely disconcerting, and it fully explained why I'd never seen him smile with his mouth open until now. You had your teeth encrusted with diamonds? Doesn't that cut up your mouth all the time? I asked, trying to keep the pitch and meter of my voice level, despite wanting to scream across the room that I was paired up with a lunatic. I didn't have my teeth encrusted. They are diamonds. My whole skull is made of diamond. It's part of who I am. This was going a bit far for an emo fantasy, or strange divergent cosplay, or whatever the fuck this was. It was too much. Okay, fine, his teeth were sparkly, disconcertingly sparkly, and he was disturbingly handsome as well, but whatever the explanation was, I'm a vampire, or I'm a crazy person who shouldn't be allowed to be in school with the people I stalk, it amounted to the same thing. I was so done talking to him. Edic, I hate to say this. No, scratch that. I don't hate to say it. I just don't want you to attack me again, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't believe that you're a vampire, and even if you are, you really need to stop talking to me. I'm working on filing a restraining order against you. I can't believe the cops let you come to school today. I was agitated beyond tact and well into honesty. I didn't have the emotional fortitude to protect this guy's feelings, and frankly, he didn't deserve to have his feelings protected. I don't have much patience for guys who break into my bedroom and then corner me. Go ahead, accuse me of overreacting. The cops cannot stop me. I just altered their memories. Same as I'll have to do with the girls who just noticed me showing you my teeth. That's okay. They're just humans. I'm not sure which part of that I find most disturbing. So I'm not going to analyze it much, but seriously, you need to leave me alone. I want nothing to do with you, vampire or human. Vampire. Okay, fine. Go away, vampire. We're lab partners. We're lab partners who are about to try to get each other arrested. I wouldn't have you arrested. Okay, fine. I'm a lab partner who is going to get you arrested. Either way, stop talking to me. But Vic, do you need me to knee you in the balls again? Edic's mouth slammed shut, and I wondered how he reconciled the idea of being a vampire with the simple fact that he got pwned by me last night. Not that I wasn't a very competent fighter, I was, but still, vampires in all the books I'd read were supposed to be hot shit when it came to physical defenses. What kind of vampire gets taken down with a nut shot from a normal human that he outweighs by 50 pounds? It wasn't my first time being the new kid in school, so I was accustomed to the attention that one generally garners just by dint of being an oddity. Of course, I was usually considered odd enough that I continued to garner a bit of extra attention even after the initial new girl obsession had worn off. But just because I was used to the attention didn't mean that I liked it. It wasn't that I couldn't stand being the center of attention. Class presentations and theater performances didn't bother me. It was more that I hated the kind of attention that being the new kid granted. It was rather like what I assumed it felt like to be in a circus sideshow. The looks were long and leering, filled with a derogatory curiosity that left you feeling like you needed a shower. Imagine my delight then, when during my second period class, whilst I blearily settled myself into the seat at the back, I noticed a student I hadn't seen yesterday. More than one person was looking straight at her and whispering in a way that clearly told me she was either new or a pariah of some kind. Either way, she was taking the spotlight off of me. She sat calmly in the row directly ahead of me, and her dark, tightly curled hair, pulled into a thick braid down her back, was all I could see. I smiled to myself at the idea of someone else getting stared at for a while, and then instantly regretted it. "Miss Marmot, what are you so smug about this morning? Is there something you'd like to share with the rest of the class?" What was Rebuke even doing in this class? I just escaped first period physics with her, and was supposed to be in English with Topaz. She must be subbing again. I sighed. "No, Miss Rebuke, I was just smiling after relieving myself of some painful gas buildup. Thank you for asking, though." Oh dear. Filters were down after a night of almost zero sleep and a morning full of stalker. Perhaps she would be distracted by my self-deprecating humor? A chorus of laughter sounded around the classroom, but one look at her revealed that my joke had done little to deflect her ire. "Miss Marmot, are you under the impression that you are funny?" "Everyone farts, Miss Rebuke. I believe there was a book about it." I bit my own tongue after that slipped out. What the hell is wrong with me? I didn't usually talk back to teachers, no matter what they said to me. Although, to be fair, I'd never had a teacher dislike me quite as strongly as Miss Rebuke seemed to. It must have been the accumulation of stress and exhaustion over the past few days, but I couldn't seem to keep my mouth shut. "Miss Marmot, do you wish to visit the principal's office again?" "Actually, yes. I have a number of questions for him." I startled even myself with that one. It was small consolation that the new kid at the table in front of me seemed to find my little display amusing, as I watched Miss Rebuke's face take on a deep shade of vermilion. While my brain tried to regain control of my tongue, I drowsily wondered what she would do next. Since I just asked to be sent to the principal's office, the threat of sending me there lost much of its weight. On the other hand, allowing me to remain in the classroom would undermine her authority. I briefly regretted having challenged the woman's authority, until I remembered that I'd never actually done anything to set her off except answer her questions on the first day of class, when she had seemed to hate me instantly for no reason. I wasn't proud of undermining her authority in her own classroom, but I was happy to demonstrate to her that it wasn't a good idea to go around being horrible to people for no reason. "Go to Mr. Bumblebee's office immediately!" Her face was so red by the time she spoke that I was surprised not to see steam exuding from her ears like a Warner Brothers cartoon. I stood up and shouldered my backpack. Just as I reached the front of the room and turned towards the door, I heard a voice mutter, "Intidi," and felt something sting my shoulder. I turned to find the new kid pinning Miss Rebuke's arm to her sides and snarling? I inspected my shoulder, but found nothing wrong with it. The young woman, who looked like a younger version of Zoe from Firefly, left Rebuke where she was and came to usher me out the door and take a closer look at my shoulder. "Looks like she missed," she said, once we were on the other side of the classroom door. I felt something hit my shoulder, but, well, I feel fine otherwise. I was struggling to string a sentence together. This girl was gorgeous, and everywhere she touched me felt like my skin was on fire. I'd never found a woman attractive before, but my body didn't seem to give a damn about that small detail. "So she did hit you? Why aren't you cut then?" "I'm not sure. What did she throw at me?" I asked. The young woman's eyebrows raised in confusion. For a moment, she seemed as though she were about to reply, but then she looked around the hallway and shook her head. "Let's just say that the fact that it didn't cut you is interesting," was all she said in the end. I nodded, even though I had no idea what I was agreeing with. "Well, I'd better get to Mr. Bumblebee's office, I suppose." I may have started unexpectedly giving lip to teachers, but I wasn't about to start ignoring direct orders to go see the principal. The Zoe look-alike tilted her head as though she expected me to do precisely that. "You really respect her authority?" she asked. I shrugged. I needed to talk to him anyway. It was true. I had been meaning to talk to him sometime today about what I could do to keep Edic away from me, even if the police weren't going to cooperate. Just because I, or the world, was going insane, didn't mean that I had to put up with Edic's bullshit. I turned again and headed down the hall, not sure what had just happened or why it seemed so important, not to mention why I was mesmerized by the eyes of a woman I'd just met. And that is chapter 13, which is a little bit lengthy compared to the other chapters. I think that might be the only reading I get done today, but I'm going to post that and let everybody know about it. Happy Easter or happy Sunday, depending on what you celebrate. We're an atheist household, but we still celebrate bunnies leaving chocolate and jelly beans for everybody because candy's nice, especially in these trying times. So, yeah, hope you guys are having a good day, and I will catch you in the next chapter. Stay safe out there.